This is everyday driving in Hawaii. Literally every day. Now, here is the issue. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a quick minute. I apologize. It's really been a very crazy time. You'll understand here in a few days when we announce on the channel what exactly is happening, because we have some substantial changes happening in the next few weeks, but you'll understand later. But regardless, it has been freezing cold here in Hawaii. It's dropped into the 50s the last few nights. I've been back here for over a decade now, and I've never felt it this cold. I'm wearing whatever cold weather clothing I have, which is nothing, but luckily it's in the mid 60s now. It's, you know, middle of the day, but we have some errands to run, and then we finally have an update for you guys on the suspension. So I've been complaining about the rough country leveling kit for a very long time now. A lot of you are asking, hey, what are we doing with it? We're finding out today. All right, so our first stop's gonna be at Lowe's because my son thinks he's a linebacker and our screen door is apparently the offensive line. So I got some repairs to do. But one of the few reasons I do hate this leveling kit is the ride quality at low speeds. Because of the weird joints and angles of the upper control arms and how it articulates upward, it makes low speed travel miserable. Check this out. At low speeds, it feels like every bump in the road is magnified. On the highway, it's a little more bearable, but the steering feels really twitchy. Again, with the angles and every time you hit a bump, how it articulates upward, it pushes the top of the wheel outward, which again, at highway speeds, makes the steering feel very twitchy, and you're always kind of correcting the steering every time you hit a bump. But let's go ahead and run into Lowe's, and then we'll explain and show you guys what I'm talking about with some of these angles, because they're pretty bad, and I'm gonna be happy to finally get this taken care of. All right, guys, so here's the lowdown. So we have a 3.5-inch leveling kit, which is just a spacer. They do make leveling kits that come with some different upper control arms, but essentially this is the only thing that's not stock here at the front of the truck. Now, here is the issue. The upper ball joint with the upper control arm, because the body of the truck has been lifted up 3.5 inches, nothing's been modified on this end. So that upper control arm there with the ball joint sits at a very steep angle. I've had this on here for probably, I'll call it 9,000 miles, and nothing has happened to really destroy anything up here, but that angle continues to be uncomfortable. The ball joint's still in one piece, hasn't broken, hasn't fallen off, but here is my main issue. Because I do have a 1-year-old that I do drive with regularly, this makes me uncomfortable. No, nothing terrible has happened yet with my upper ball joints, with my upper control arms, but the idea that my upper ball joints and upper control arms may fail at any instant, or even highway speeds, is really nerve-wracking, and I'd rather spend some money to correct that issue versus worrying about that driving with my son on a regular basis. So what we're doing, we're replacing the upper control arms here today. As we continue to save up money and grow the channel, we're gonna do some really big things with the truck. But right now what we have is a solve, which is a special piece from Rough Country itself. It's gonna correct the angles, give me a stronger upper ball joint, and that peace of mind will finally be there. So let's finally go back to the garage, tear this front end apart, and we will be on our way. Woo! In this very box, we have Rough Country's forged one-piece upper control arms. And besides me walking you through exactly what this is, I'll have Rough Country do it.
Rough Country's forged upper control arms feature a solid one-piece design made of forged steel for superior strength and durability. This forged design outperforms all other types of arm construction, with no welding weak spots that can bend or break. When it comes to lifting a truck, factory control arms just don't cut it. Rough Country's forged control arms are designed specifically for lifted vehicles. These ball joints feature a polyoxymethylene ball race and a large ball diameter to improve range of motion. Each ball joint is fully greasable. Rough Country's forged upper control arms also feature OE-style rubber bushings. Visit roughcountry.com.
This is actually amazing how well packaged these are. Got a thick, high-density foam insert, but then again, these are so solid. There's really nothing bad that could have really happened to these, but check this out, guys. This is the beefiest control arm. Looking at this compared to my stock one is going to be really, really funny when you compare them side to side. So what we're going to do now is jack up the truck, take the wheels and tires off, and then get to disassembling the upper control arms. I don't believe it's going to be that difficult. I believe it's just the main nut on the bottom, as well as the ones that mount it to the chassis, and then we should be able to slip these new ones in there. We'll see how difficult it is, but without further ado, let's get this thing going. We're about ready to knock these upper control arms out. Take a look at, here's a sneak peek of the difference between the Rough Country forged upper control arms and the stock GM upper control arms. Again, these are forged, these are one piece with palm and ball joints. Super sturdy design, extremely strong. It's gonna work out a lot better than what we have currently. Now, I have in fact installed this on the other side of the vehicle. This is an enormous difference between the two of these. Before we begin to tear down the driver's side, we're gonna take one last look at these terrible angles we've been talking about for so long. First thing we do, we need to brace everything up, make sure you are completely safe underneath the truck. We have multiple, call it jack stands underneath, securing the front of the truck. It is suspended up in the air. Now, what we're going to do first, we're going to disconnect this bolt here at the bottom of the upper control arm, which is the upper ball joint, and then we're going to knock this loose. Once we knock this loose, we're going to go ahead and loosen up these two sides of the alignment pins. We have to slide these out. Once these are out and this nut is off, this upper control arm will come completely out. Now keep in mind, you do still have your ABS wire and your brake lines. Be very careful with these. Once you disconnect this upper control arm, this wheel assembly will swing free. Make sure you brace this up. You don't want the brake line to be holding this up in the air. Oh, and by the way, if I sound funny, it's because I'm sick as a dog right now. So that's that. Alright, so we have our brake line and our ABS wire disconnected from the upper control arm. What I'm going to do now is strike this, call it the spindle, until the upper control arm will break free. So I got to hit this pretty hard a couple times before it'll finally jar loose. Or you just let it sit and fall, that'll work too. Alright, so now I got a tie down, basically just holding this whole assembly up. Alright, so next up I'm going to start working on these alignment pins. This is going to be a 21mm socket. Again, you can bang out your power tools if you want, but it is pretty late out here and I don't want to wake all my neighbors up. But it's just not tight enough. Well guys, the assembly's not going anywhere. It was all over the place. But essentially we've gotten this loose, the alignment pins are loose as well. So we're gonna go ahead and pull these nuts off, and then we have to slide the bolt out this way. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. So you gotta fit in between some of these springs on the strut, but this should come out without having to remove this altogether. And it's a good idea to mark these before you take them off. So go ahead and take like a different color Sharpie and mark where the alignment pin is and where it lines up on the body frame. And I was an idiot and did the other side, and I thought I did this side before I started pulling it off, but I'm just now realizing I may have not. It's gonna be fun putting it back together. And it slides right out. So again, put these back together, try to stay organized, and it makes it easier if you mark it because it's closer to alignment than what I'm gonna have, but I'm gonna have to limp this thing down to the alignment shop to get corrected. But here we go. There is the old stock upper control arm, and you know, the ball joint is still in okay condition. There's a little bit of wear, but there's no real tearing. There's no real telling that this is really worn out. So as you can see there, this is what's coming out. This is what's going back in. And man, this is so much more beefy than the stock. And the main focal point is on that angle there. The upper control arm, where the upper ball joint is, the rough country is gonna go ahead and fix that terrible angle it was sitting at. And this is what I thought was gonna happen because it happened on the other side. As here's the issue we're running into. So we have a rough country upper control arm, and what it should do is slide right in. So we have the back end lined up there, but as we go to the front end, there's a little bit of a clearance issue. So what we're gonna have to do is expand these outward. Now I thought this was gonna be quite a difficult task, but it ended up being really easy. And what I did to solve this, I essentially have just an extra bolt I had lying around, a washer and a nut, and a random piece of metal. So how this is gonna work, I put the bolt in this way, and then I put the nut on the inside. I then put the spare piece of metal here on the inside of that tower, and then what happens is as I screw the nut outward, it expands this outward, which opens this up, and then eventually this will slide right in, no problem. So let's go ahead and knock that out right now. I'm gonna do both sides and just expand it a little bit at a time until it fits perfectly in there. Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, meet my pops. I don't know what point in the video they're gonna make an entrance, but if they haven't yet, pops, internet pops, they're here visiting their grandchild. They don't come visit us anymore, they don't come visit the baby. So, they're in town, and it's good to have an extra pair of hands here. If this doesn't work, you could use vice grips, but I'm gonna use the hands that we have. Alright, there's side number 1. Side number 2 coming up next, after these commercials.
This ain't gonna work. Oh, hey, I'm Ricky Bobby.
And I'm Cal Naughton Jr.
And we're here to talk to you about plastic, the silent killer.
Welcome back, everybody. We are still here. Still taking the bolt out. And another commercial break.
Cleaned up good.
Real nice. Hey, I'm Ricky Bobby.
And I'm Cal Naughton Jr.
Let's talk about children reading too early.
There's the bolt. All right.
Pretty boring.
All right, I'm not gonna show you this one just because there's no space in there, so do the same thing on the other side. You guys saw where we were before. Here's the moment of truth. And we're in. And there's a sneak peek at our new upper control arms, guys. That is massive. I love this. All right, so next up, we're gonna throw these alignment pins back in on both sides and then basically bolt everything up in reverse order. Okay. She's in there. So let's go ahead and hook this spindle back up to the upper ball joint, the all new greasable rough country upper ball joint, and then we'll be good. Alright you guys, now there they are, the Rough Country upper control arms, and yes, it is morning now. I wanted to wait till morning to get some decent daylight to make sure I had everything torqued down before I put it all back together. So, everything's torqued down, ready to go, but take one last look at these guys. This is just, I'm blown away. This is awesome. I love the quality of these. They're completely solid. The angle there is 100 times better than my stock ones. As you can see, the angle is much more attractive on the ball joint. And again, keep in mind this is at full droop, so the truck is jacked up in the air. So this is essentially the lowest point this will hang. And this is gonna ride, I think, much better. So let's go ahead and bolt the wheels and tires back on. We are gonna need another alignment. So let's go ahead and get the wheels and tires back on, and then we'll go find an alignment shop. Well guys, welcome back. It's actually been nearly an entire week since I left you last. Few reasons for that. First off, I've been just incredibly busy at work. In fact, I'm just leaving work right now to finish up this video. On top of that, I wanted to get a really good feel of these new upper control arms. A lot of the initial first impressions when you install a part are emotionally driven. You immediately see a difference, you immediately feel a difference, you're all excited typically, and you want to express that excitement. Now, I've been driving this truck all week long with the all-new Rough Country forged upper control arms, and I'm going to say I am extremely just blown away, surprised. I honestly did not expect these results out of a simple part. Now what I'm talking about here is, it's like driving a stock truck again. The bumps feel smoother, my entire truck doesn't rattle every time I hit a bump in the road. The steering feels much better, much more comfortable. And on top of all that, it's no longer twitchy on the highways. It actually drives straight without constant correction of the wheel. Very happy with this. Now, where we're going, early in the video, we ran over a nice, normal, pothole-filled Hawaii road. So what we're doing right now, we're gonna flip around and run over that same exact section of the road. This is everyday driving in Hawaii. Literally, every day. Like, nothing surprises me anymore here. I'll just continue driving straight down the road, and people just decide to come into my lane with a blinker on without even looking. Just a regular occurrence. So I'll put a link in the description below for the upper control arms back there for the Rough Country upper control arms. And another fun fact about these, 2 weeks after I purchased them, they dropped in price by nearly $100. And given I do live in Hawaii, I went and paid another $80 just to get these out here. I threw a grand total of nearly $400 for these upper control arms. So again, link in the description below. We'll do another update video here in the next coming weeks on how they're doing, but we have big changes coming, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what those are yet, but stay tuned for the next video because this is the biggest change to the channel since we launched it. And this is going to allow us to do a lot.
Well, you guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope you enjoyed the modification we made to the truck. I know I'm enjoying it so far. Stay tuned for our next video because we have a big announcement coming up, a big announcement to make, and a big change coming to the channel. If you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button. Give it a big thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel. Be part of the Lone Star Hawaiian family. Thank each and every one of you for being a part of this journey so far. But until next time, guys, y'all take care. Aloha and enjoy the ride.